Hi everyone, James Pickard here in the golf cave at Honiton Golf Club. Sat at a desk today. There is a reason for this. I'm shafting. I do mean in the cleanest way possible. I got some shafts. Okay, so Project X have very kindly sent me some shafts to do some testing with. Through their range they've got several different shafts with different specifications, profiles, etc, etc. What I have here, they're all Hzrdus shafts, very popular, used on tour a lot. I think the Epic driver now has the Hzrdus shaft as one of its stock options. This is the Hzrdus yellow. Okay, it's the 65 gram 6.5 flex, which is X. I also have the aptly named Hzrdus red, 65 gram 6.5 X. And lastly, silver, what would they call it? Oh, it's the T1100. I'd have called it the silver, but there you go. So the T1100, a very new shaft on the market. These all have very different profiles. So the yellow is is low spin, low launch. That's the profile of it. The red is mid spin and mid launch, and the T1100 is apparently a spin killer, so it's ultra low spin, ultra low launch. Okay, so the idea was with this, I use all of these clubs, so I've built these to spec myself. They're all the same length. I put them in my M1 440 head. All of them were down at 7.5 degrees. The idea with this is, does shaft make a difference? Some say yes, some say no. I think it does, but probably not in the way that you think. So with these, both the yellow and the T1100 silver, they are counterbalanced. So they've back weighted them, so they've taken weight from the middle, added it to the top. Especially this one here, they've made this out of a very specific T1100 material, which means that they can bind it a lot closer together, so they can make it a little bit hollower in the middle, which then allows them to make it lighter here and add weight at the tip end. Same with the yellow, but not the same material. It's a different way they've back weighted it. But the idea with both of these is if you have a counterbalance, then the tip will feel a little heavier, which means you can actually kind of accelerate, you can pick up more ball speed. So they're counterbalanced. The red is just a standard, well, not a standard, again it's they're top end shafts, but it's like a normal shaft compared to being counterweighted. So up on your screen you'll probably see some numbers. These numbers kind of represent what happened with these shafts. So I've had to write them down because it saves me scrolling a little bit. So the T1100 I started off with. The idea is 10 shots with each, but they had to be strikes that I would be happy with on the course, because obviously dispersion wise strikes have to be similar, and as I'm not a robot I have to kind of say, yep, that was close, no, that was rubbish. A lot of them are rubbish, but I'm using the ones that I think are kind of good to very good I've used. Okay, so T1100 ball speed 164.5 miles an hour. The yellow was 163.6 and the red was 163.1. So overall, more ball speed with the T1100/silver. Okay. We're looking at launch angle, so bear in mind we've got low spin, low launch, low spin, low launch, mid spin, mid launch. Okay, the T1100, again it went first, launched at 15.4 degrees. Okay, the yellow was 15.1, so 0.3 of a degree lower, and the red was 15.2, so arguably identical. Okay, spin rates ultra low spin, ultra low launch, 2064 on average through the 10 decent strikes. Yellow, 1915 on the decent strikes. Red, 2036. Okay, so again, all within 100 or so of each other. Then went on to like the peak height, ultra low spin, ultra low launch. Now launch doesn't necessarily mean peak height. This peaked at 43 yards, which is pretty high. Well, for me anyway. 39 for the yellow, 41 for the red. So the mid spin, mid launch has spun less than my ultra low spin, ultra low launch. It's also peak height was 2 yards lower. Okay, but it's all very similar again. Carry distance, averaging 294, maxing out at 298. Hazardous was, what was that? 292, so the yellow is 292, maxed out at 299. And this one averaged 291, maxing out at 300. So again, all very similar. 2 yards carry, 2 yards between the longest carries, 3 yards between average. Okay, so why do I think they make a difference if all the numbers are basically very similar? Well, there's a very good explanation for this. Feel. Okay, so I'm a big believer in confidence. You have to be confident in what you're using to be able to play your best golf. So out of these shafts, which do I prefer, considering that they're all very similar? So I'm going to be brutally honest here. I mean, they've been great to send them to me, and I am going to game these shafts. However, one that isn't for me is the red. Now bear in mind it had the longest carry, it did have the shortest average distance, but the reason is that because this is mid-spin, mid-launch, you feel a little bit more what is going on in the tip of the club. And to me, it makes it feel like I've lost control of it a little bit through the swing. Therefore, I don't want to use that because I don't want to be thinking that I'm losing control of it. The yellow, very similar to the T1100. The only difference with the yellow is, to me, it feels heavier when I swing. So swing weight feels heavier. And I kind of like a lighter end shaft. I like a light swing weight. So for me, the T1100, which is really impressive performance-wise, not the longest carry out of the three of them, but the longest carry overall, was great. Dispersion-wise, they're all very similar. This averaged -3. So 3 yards left. The yellow was 16 yards left, and the red was 0. So that's 0. So it's actually given me the best dispersion, but it's also given me the biggest differences. So I've hit one 57 yards right and 25 yards left with that. I'm used to kind of more of a right miss anyway. So I draw the ball. My normal kind of shot, the way I set up, is a pull hook or a pull draw. But for me, 57 yards right is a little bit too much. The yellow, the worst it was 35 yards left and 16 right, 8 right, sorry. So in actual fact, at the moment, this is best for dispersion. This one, so the nicest feeling one, 42 yards right, still quite a lot, and 32 yards left. So that's similar to this one, but with this I feel like I'm in more control. So that's why that one's out of the bag. So for me it's between these two. It depends what kind of course I'm playing. If I'm going to go and play a wide open course, I'm going to take this one because it carries a bit further. It feels nicer, but the dispersion's bigger, so it's got to be a slightly wider course. Whereas this one, I would take on a tighter course and tend to maybe lose a couple of yards, but it's literally a couple of yards, but feel like I'm kind of, or know that I'm a little bit more accurate with it. Now it's all very well saying this, but everything is strike based as well, so anything slightly heely is going to go slightly right for me, and anything toey is going to go extra left. So again, it's all strike and it is all feeling based. For me, especially being a low handicap when I was an amateur and hitting a lot of shots inside, doing these videos, and I'm not playing so much nowadays, but I do hit quite a few shots inside. I'm not going to see a huge amount of difference with these because I can kind of, to an extent, manipulate my strike and what I want to feel. Whereas amateurs are going to find a massive difference between the red, the yellow, and then going into this one. And I think that's why custom fitting is so important, is to hit a shaft you shouldn't need to manipulate. You should be able to go and swing and hit nicely. So whereas I naturally manipulate after a couple of shots because of the way I feel with the club, a lot of people don't. They just swing and they'll hit it and it won't feel right, it won't feel the same, and it is all about feel. So if you're confident, the shaft feels nice and it tends to go alright, that's fine. It is, however, showing why it's so important to get a custom fit. There's a lot of misinformation with this shaft's going to make this much difference, it's going to make 30 yards difference, etc. It doesn't. It'll make potentially 10 yards. It is all strike dependent. So my findings of this is I love these shafts. I think they're absolutely fantastic. And as I say, 2 of these will definitely be gamed. I'm going to do a little bit more practice with the red one and just kind of see how I feel about it. But overall, they're great products. And for me, they performed very, very well. I mean, 294, anything over 280 is long. And, you know, to be 294, 292 and 291 average carry is kind of crazy. What I am going to do is some more testing with front and back dispersion with paw strikes as well, but that'll be a next video. But in terms of good strikes and the distance the shafts makes, very, very limited, but it's all down to feel, confidence, and what you like to feel through impact. I don't like to necessarily feel what the head's doing through impact, because for me it feels a bit kind of like spaghetti, whereas I like to feel something tip stiff and not necessarily feel where the head is, but feel that I can actually hit the ball and not lose control, which is what these are offering me. But get yourselves checked, get custom fit, it is crucial. Have you tried these shafts? Let me know if you've tried them. Tell me how you got on. Was there a big difference? Was there not? Maybe it's just me. These are my findings at the moment. I will do the second video on all strikes over about 25-30 shots with each one and let you know how that goes. But thanks for watching the video, guys. We'll check in soon. Cheers.